Yes, no, yes, okay. All right. The voice and all is all right, right? There's no disturbance like last time. Okay. All right. So we're going to, yeah, thank you, Carlton De Silva. Thank you for responding. So we'll not waste much time. We'll right. So we're going to be looking at the model verbs today. For next session, we'll look at phrasal verbs and phrases and idioms because I think that too is a part of your qualifier exams. So we'll look at that. Today we are going to look mostly at model verbs. And before we start the exercises, they're very simple ones. I would like to know from you how good are you with modal verbs? You know, if you followed the lecture well, are you able to use them properly? Are you getting them right? Are there problems? Before we begin, we'll definitely revise quickly what the major modal verbs. Not all of them, of course, but the major ones, which we also refer to as the core modal auxiliaries. We can just quickly look at them. But before we do that, any general question that you have with respect to modal verbs, you may raise them. We can take that up for the first few minutes and then go on to what we want to do. Okay. Anything? Anything that you want to ask? Is there a problem with the audio clarity? Voice could be fluctuating because I'm using modulation, but otherwise it is okay, right? Are you able to hear more or less? Okay, all right. So you know, if you're okay with the model verbs, what you understand about them, then you can start off with the exercises. Anything? How and where do you use model verbs? Let me ask you a few questions, and I think that would be better if you can respond to it. What's the use of model verbs, or what do you understand by from you that? No one wants to try. You're all waiting for me to tell you what model verbs is. Did you watch the lecture on model verbs or not? You might have, right? Yes, no, no response to anything. How can that be possible? Not able to hear you. Is that so?
Yes, ma'am. We are able to hear you.
Ah, okay. All right, all right. Okay, so what do you understand by model verbs?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Rajalakshmi, go ahead.
Yeah, don't we have any mock tests for English? We are saying mock tests for other subjects, but for English.
Could be mock test. I am not aware of that part. Ideally, you should get one. Maybe the coming week or so you might get.
Pardon? Maybe by the middle of this week, you are saying?
Probably. I am not. I don't deal with the
For the
administrative
weeks.
aspect.
Okay, okay. I am just asking in view of the upcoming qualifier.
If there is one, you should get it by next week. You could clarify this during the doubt clearance session. I think Ashwarya should be better equipped to answer questions of this nature. She keeps a tab on such.
Okay.
I am not the right person to be answering this. Okay, all right. Yeah, getting back to the model verbs. Why is it that people don't? What is it? Okay, just try and say what model verbs are. What's the point of doing the exercise when you don't understand it, right? What is model verbs? At least give me a few model verbs that you understand.
My
And then we'll talk about what to do.
Modal verbs
My,
are the verbs. Yeah. Hello. Are you able to hear me?
auxiliary verbs.
yeah, we're able to hear you, but
Yes,
now
yes.
there are two people speaking at the same time.
Okay. Modal
Ah.
or auxiliary verbs are the verbs that that show ability or a possibility of activities or something like that. And few examples are can, must, shall, will, and all these.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so modal verbs, the major function for them is to express, like she's saying, the words that she used, ability, possibility, etc. These are referred to as modalities. Okay, modalities of expression. What do we mean by modalities of expression? The major function of all modal verbs is to show the speaker's attitude. Okay, speaker's attitude about things that they already know, or from the knowledge that they have, or use them in a hierarchy socially determined, right? So whenever there's a hierarchy, there is this question of politeness that comes in. So that's one area where modal verbs are used. And another part is to help the speaker express their attitude. Okay, attitudes of ability, possibility, requirement, likelihood, necessity, obligation, right? All of this then becomes the function of modal verbs. Few things that one needs to know about modal verbs. That modal verbs do not carry tense, right? They are verbs, but we know about other auxiliary verbs like has, had, have, or do, does, etc., right? Those are the kind of auxiliary verbs which have tense, right? They can supply tense to their main verbs. Whereas modal verbs, they are a special category of auxiliary verbs. They do not give tense. Their function is to show the mood or the modality and expressions. Their task is not to provide tense. They have nothing to do with time. Okay, so this is one very important information that you must have. You should etch this right in your mind about modal verbs. No tense. It has nothing to do with time or tense in the language. Their only task is to show various modalities as we just discussed. Okay. Okay. That is the first part about modal verb, right? So that means you won't structures like ing or ed or anything along with the modal verb. They are always used on their own. First part, that is no text. Second thing is about the meanings of modal verbs, right? So you would have already found this out, or you would have read about this somewhere, that modal verbs are they tend to have multiple meanings, right? They have more than one meanings. So a modal verb like can be used to mean different in different contexts, right? They all have a basic meaning. The basic meanings are, but contextually, sometimes these core auxiliary modal verbs may be used to mean more than one thing, right? That which means when we say more than one thing, we know that a modal verb like can be used to express ability or potential, and they can also be sometimes used to refer to permissions, right, or to indicate possibility. So in that sense, multiple meanings are possible using one modal verbs. Them will have one basic meaning or the major meaning in which they are used everywhere. And we are going to be concerned mostly about that part. What is the major meaning? What is the basic meaning of each of the 9 core model auxiliaries that we have? Plus their usage in socially, polite context. Like how do you use them in the context where politeness is required, right? So these are the two meanings that we are going to be focused on. We're not going to dive deep into other contextual meanings that it can have. However, keep in mind that each of these modal verb can be used to mean different things in the given context. Ready? Please speak up.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am. You just mentioned the word can, C-A-N.
Yes.
Yes, that is a modal verb. What about
Right.
as in cannot, as in can't, C-A-N apostrophe T? Is that a modal verb as well? Can't, as in cannot.
Yeah, it is also. It is the negative form of.
Oh, okay. So even negative is.
So modal verbs can also be used in its negative form, right?
Yeah. They
Yes.
can be.
As in when you negate it, like I can swim.
Yeah, I mean, can.
And I can't swim, right? So both of them are possible.
Like if just now, like you asked, can you speak up? So that's one verb. And if I say I can't, or I mean, like I can't. So that is also a modal verb.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. I had the
Yeah,
confusion.
it is also modal.
Okay, I had the confusion. Fine. And ma'am, just we'll go through the process, but just want to ask you once again: are we also going to revise those pauses in the conversation later on?
Pauses in the conversation, not for this session.
Uh,
But what do you want to know about the pause? You can ask it.
No.
Or
I was only referring to. I mean, I'm referring to the graded week 4, but not those questions. I just basically want to understand how do we make it
okay. All right.
easier to
Pause.
understand.
Pauses in conversations, you will have to focus on where they stop. Okay. There is no rule that is exactly laid out for all of this, except for I think where to pause when you are saying a digit or something. Usually for you, the question in pause is going to be based on an audio question. You'll have to carefully listen to that audio and see where the speaker pauses and then mark your pause. Okay.
Okay. Fine. All right. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There was a quick discussion on what modal verbs is. Now we'll quickly look at what the basic meanings for each of your core modal auxiliary. How many core modal auxiliaries? You have can and could, you have will and would, you have shall and should, you have may and might, and then must, right? So there's a total of 9, right? 9 core model auxiliaries. You would also have come across a few others like, ought to, have got to, right? Or need to, right? Is going to, are going to, was going to, be able to, be allowed to, be supposed to. So these are all, it has a name. They're all sort of derived models, right? They can function. They're not model auxiliaries by themselves, but they models sometimes. Okay, we won't deal with them in detail at this given moment. We are going to be more concerned with the understanding of the core model auxiliaries. But to your knowledge, and I'm sure the lecture has also covered them. So just to your knowledge, right, that these are also multi-mode verbs which can be used to mean exactly the same as the model verbs, right? Yeah. So the basic ones, let's look at can and could first. The basic function of can and could model verbs is to show what? Ability or potential, right? Whenever you want to talk about yours or somebody's potential, ability to do something, then the is either can or could. What's the difference between can and could? If both of them can be used for showing potential, there should be some difference, right? One, I'll tell you, one is obviously could has a usage in the politeness context, right? Sometimes when you want to, when there is a social hierarchy as determined by the society or convention, if that is the context, then you will prefer could over can, right? So as to show the politeness factor. But besides this politeness, besides that, the difference between can and could? What do you
Could
think?
will be used in past tense.
Ma'am, what about could can also be used with respect to maybe a doubt, like I could go. I'm not sure, but I could go.
No, what happened?
I think we will use might too.
Are you all able to hear me? I just got logged out. I don't know what happened.
Now you are audible. Few seconds back you were not, man. When we were
No, because I
answering.
got logged out.
Okay, okay.
I don't know how to.
Ma'am, could will be
Anyway,
used in past
all
tense.
right.
Is it?
So could no. This is something that you will find in many of the textbooks. It tells you past ability, but it is actually a wrong interpretation.
Okay.
We don't say because see, modal verbs by themselves don't have tense on them. So even if I find a sentence where it is, looks like um, it is in the past tense, it's not. Like, let's take an example. Uh, when I was 6. Okay, if that is the sentence I have, I've used could here, and the common tendency would be to think that could is used as something to show past ability. But that's not the case. Because remember, in the sentence, the tense of the sentence actually comes from the verb was. I could swim when I was 6. It's not could that is applying the tense, it cannot because it's a modal verb. Any sense of past time that comes in the sentence comes from the verb was. So, no, you will find many grammar books talking about could as past ability, but it is not. Okay, if it cannot show tense, then how can we talk about past or present? What else could be could? So, in a sentence which I just said, no, I could swim when I was 6. What is the interpretation that you get? Does it still show potential?
Ability. A potential.
Ability, right? Ability.
Yeah.
It can show ability. Our question would be that has any different meaning than can when it comes to ability? I would say no. Most of the time, can and could are used to show ability. The difference would be that could is used more in contexts where there is politeness required, right? So that would be the major difference. Besides that, I do not see any. This remoteness explanation about past tense is something that we don't abide by because if there is no tense, then how can you talk about time, right? Okay. All right. The will and would. How about will and would? Will and would? Anybody who wants to talk about will and would?
Will is used for present and would it mostly used for past and would shows more politeness than will.
Will is used for what? Sorry.
Will is used for the future thing and would is basically it shows more politeness.
Kalyani, you
Right.
are right, but we are not talking about the modal will, the tense forming auxiliary will. Okay, that is not what we are looking at. Something in the chat. We talk about our friends. Okay. When we talk about our friends, okay, let's look at it carefully. Um, this future time that Kalyani is telling me, Kalyani, we are discussing the core model auxiliaries, and what did we say? We say that we can't, the tense cannot be expressed using this thing, right? So we're not talking about, correct, Umesh, no tense. So then it shows future time is not something that we can use or we can interpret in the context of model verbs, right? Will is definitely a tense forming auxiliary, but only in the case where it is used to predict. But there are other uses to the model auxiliary verb will, right? What is that? Any idea? So will can be used. Good. I am not, putting you off because you're responding. It's good that you're responding. It's nice to hear from all of you. This is a good method. You say things and then you get to know that maybe this is not the way how we look at things. So Kalyani is right. One of the use is to show future time, and that is mostly in the case where this model verb is used to predict. Right. So when it is used in sense of prediction, then yes, it has a tense. But when you talk about model auxiliary, there are two other main functions that the model auxiliary will has. The first one is that to show intention, right? I will finish this work by tomorrow. Okay, this is an example of the usage of model auxiliary verb in order to show someone's intention, right? I will finish this work by tomorrow. Intention. Now, within this intention, you can subcategorize things like, certainty or promise. All of this would come under this category of intention, right? So if there are people who are thinking, can't we use this to show promise, or can we talk about this to show certainty and other things? Yes, they all come under the categorization of intention, right? One more thing, willingness. Okay, willingness is also something that is the meaning that comes along with the model auxiliary will, right? So three things mostly for the model auxiliary will. One is intention, the second is willingness, third is prediction. But whenever you use the model auxiliary verb in the sense of prediction, it's usually something that would carry tense, right? So that we keep out of the discussion on model auxiliary, since model does not carry tense along, right? I talked about this in, I think, English 2 yesterday, that one thing with English grammar is that you have limited grammatical components to express multiple things. So we run into confusion because, see, look at an auxiliary verb like will. There is usage for will as a tense auxiliary, and there is also usage for will as a model auxiliary. We're using the same thing for both. So then it is upon us that we understand the meanings properly and give them the correct interpretation as required. Right? You have limited uh, components, and you have to use the same thing to show different meanings, right? This is a major part which can create confusion to people, but once you have a mastery on it, then it just becomes a part of the flow, right? Okay, so that is about the will. Did you get what we mean by will, right? So we have intention, within which you can talk about promise or certainty and other things. And then it's also willingness, right? So these are two meanings that the auxiliary verb, model auxiliary verb will has with it. Okay, and another thing is when it is used used to mean prediction, then it has tense on it, right? Okay, so that's on will. Would is a very. I'm coming to me. Just give me a moment. We'll take it one by one, Amish. Would very good model auxiliary, a very unproblematic auxiliary verb. It has very clear usages, and they come in form only when you need to talk about certain things. You will learn about something called mood. Okay, along with right now you don't have it in your syllabus. It's called mood. Usually comes along with tense and aspect. But since you don't have it here, I will just give you a gist of what it means, not a detailed thing. That usually is in the English too. This would is very important in this discussion on mood. So what do you understand? Where do you think the modal auxiliary would is used?
When we are making some request, like, would you join with us, like that?
Yeah. So one usage. So every modal auxiliary, it will have one usage in its politeness factor form. Okay, like could and may and would. All of them, they are more formal and they're more their use is more prevalent in the politeness context, right? So that is you're right. One of the usage of would is also to be used in the politeness context. What other meanings does the word would have? Does the modal verb would have?
Also, it is used for showing less possibility.
Less possibility? Less possibility is a different modal auxiliary verb. Okay, so listen to this carefully. Would is used when you have to talk about an unreal situation or a hypothetical situation or an imaginary situation. You might have come across sentences like, if I were you, I would have done so and so. Have you or have you not? Have you heard these kind of sentences? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
right. So these are, so there is a, so I was talking about mood, right? These are sentences that are understood to be in the subjunctive mode. Okay, this is a, you don't have this in your syllabus right now. That's for English too. But the subjunctive mode basically is this. You know, when you want to talk about something that is unreal, something that is a very feeble. Somebody talk. Did someone say possibility? Very feeble possibility. Something that has very, very, very weak, almost impossible sort of thing. You have to talk about something of that sort, something that is unreal, something that is hypothetical in nature. Then this particular model verb comes into use. Okay, would. The major function of the modal auxiliary verb would is to do this. And of course, the other thing which Kalyani was saying is to the politeness context, right? These are the major functions for would. Did someone have a question? I heard someone calling me. No? Okay. So is that understood? Okay. Usage of would, you use them mostly to talk about unreal or hypothetical or imaginary situations. If I were you, if I were a bird, I would have done this. Okay. If I were this, I would have done this. So this is usually used in unreal situations, hypothetical, imaginary conditions, right? Okay, now, if that's understood, let's take up what Umesh was asking, may. Okay, when do we use may? Basic meaning of the modal auxiliary may is to indicate. What is it? Any idea? Possibility.
Yes,
Right?
request.
Possibility. It is used to request also. Like I said, no, would, could, may, they're all used in formal tones to request, to basically indicate politeness, right? But besides that, we should know their contextual basic meanings also. Politeness factor is fine, that you will catch up very
Yes,
quickly.
and
But
possibility.
correct. The major thing that you have to, or what can cause confusion to you, is the basic meanings of each of them. May and might are modal verbs that we use to show possibility. And among these two, if you ask me what's the difference between may and might, when you use something in, when you use might in a sentence, it basically indicates very weak possibility. It might rain today. Okay, so difference between it may rain today and it might rain today. When I say it may rain today, I'm talking about a 50 chance, right? But when I say it might rain, very feeble, say 10% chance. Okay, very, very weak possibility. That's the difference between may and might. What's clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all right, everybody. Occasionally, say a yes or no so that I know that, not for anything like at least, to assure myself that I'm being heard properly. Okay, because we are online and we never know when the connection and everything is lost on whose end. Okay, so that is may and might. So we discussed will, would, may, might, can, could, and then next is shall and should. Okay, shall a little obsolete these days. Not many people use it. A lot of the work that is done by shall is replaced with will these days. However, there is one area where this shall has very prominent usage. Okay, if you have, I don't know how many of you do. If you read, the court verdicts, orders, and all that, they still use shall. Right? Have you seen that? Have you noticed that most of these court orders and verdicts and all of these, office orders, all of them will come with the word shall. Seen this? Have you seen? So this has like a very prominent presence in legal field even today. Okay. Rest of the area they have steered clear of this shall and they mostly use will now instead of shall. But shall is seen very, very prominently in the legal field even today. Have you seen this? If you haven't, please go through a few of them. There are now everything is online. You can find everything very happily. So just go check for a few things like this online, and you will see that you will demonstrate things to yourself better. That's the point. But what is the meaning of shall in that context? Okay, it shows a very strong requirement, and that is a function of the modal auxiliary verb shall, to show requirement, right? Should is also used in the same sense, but should has a very different usage. It is used to give advice more than anything else, right? But shall is more, it's more stronger in its attitude and its tone than should. This is why its presence is more found in the legal domains, right? So when somebody says shall, it is basically telling the person that you have to. There is almost a tone of necessity and obligation involved in the meaning of shall in that context. Okay. So in our ordinary context, this function of obligation and necessity is performed by another modal verb, which is what? Obligation and necessity. Which modal verb do you think does that job in the ordinary context for us? Must, right? Correct. Must is the one that does this job in the ordinary context for us. But in the legal domain, the word shall is used. It's replaced with shall to throw more emphasis on the fact that this is something that has to be done. Okay, there is no ifs and buts. This will have to be practiced, and this has to be implemented, right? So that is shall. Besides that, shall does not have much of a function in the modern day English conversations or English speech, right? All of that has been taken up by will these days. Should, like I just discussed, the one that comes along with shall, again, is something that is used to show requirement, and in the sense that when you have to give advices to people, okay, when you have to talk about, rules or laws to people, then you use the word should. Okay, everyone should report at 10 a.m. For the exam, right? So this is an advice, and this is more advice, which is more like a necessitated thing, right? You can also replace the same with must, but then when you're saying must, it is more like an obligation, right? It is not like an order or a command or an advice. It becomes more like an obligation. Difference between advice and obligation, what is it? Obligation, you are left to yourself, right? So you can decide. There is an obligation, you're obliged to do it. But then again, it's like the authority can only say, you are the decision maker. But when I say should, it is more like an order. Okay, and it's a strong advice that I give you that you should, right? Very subtle differences of meaning. Shall we go to the mall?
Ma'am, may I ask a question? May I ask a question?
Sure.
Ma'am, what do we understand when we say, should you go to the movie without me? You can leave the keys at the neighbors. So how do we understand that?
Yeah, so this is a very formal use. Usually you don't see this in the conversations like these. Okay, should you go and should you be? These are all things that you would see in more formal domains. Okay, should you submit the assignment late, you would be graded a 0.
Ah,
right?
yeah, correct,
So
correct.
this is something. This usage is very, very formal. It's extremely formal. It's so formal that people don't use it so much these days. Okay.
Okay.
But yes, this usage is more formal in nature. This is not something that you find in informal conversations with people. Okay.
Uh, okay, ma'am. But like, as in, suppose there are two roommates and
Ah,
they share a key to the house.
ah.
So in that,
You
because
can say it, but it's a little, out of place. Like your roommate would wonder why is he being so formal. That's
oh,
all. It's
okay,
not wrong.
okay,
The
okay,
meaning
okay,
is,
okay. I get it.
the
I get it.
meaning it generates is not extremely wrong, but it's a little inappropriate.
Okay,
Okay.
got it, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I mean, it's okay in certain cultures to do that, but generally not something that is seen as an appropriate method of converse. Okay.
Got it, got it, got it.
Okay. All of this is like asking what happens when I say to my teacher, will you please wait for me? Okay. Because say you are taking notes. So you can ask a professor, will you please wait for me? Now, this is not wrong, right? It is not grammatically wrong. It is not something that doesn't give a meaning, but its social meaning is very different. It shows that you lack respect. It's rude to say, will you wait for me? Instead, you say, would you please wait for me? That is more accepted. The question you're asking is also bordering along that line. Not wrong, but it's not socially appropriate. That's all.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Got it, got it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So that was shall and should. Should more for advice. And shall is something that, okay, this question somebody asked, shall we go to the mall? You can. Again, what is the difference? Formal. Okay, you're making it formal. You're making it too formal. Shall we go to the mall? Uh, in the formal usage, that sentence is correct. No problem. Okay. Same response as I gave to Ravi. Not a wrong sentence, but the meaning changes. It becomes a little more formal. So, okay. How can we say it informally? Let's go to the mall. Will you come with me to the mall? All of them. They're all on informal usage. Okay. Pushkar. Okay. That was shall and should and must. We already discussed. This is to show obligation, right? When you have to say something is necessary, something is obligatory in nature, then you use must. You must leave your footwear outside. Okay, obligated you are. You have to do this, right? That is what the meaning of must and must is, right? So core meanings of all the auxiliaries, the basic meanings of all auxiliaries are very, very important to be kept in mind. Will, used mostly for likelihood, shows intention, willingness, prediction. When you use it for prediction, it involves tense, right? Then may and might are used to show possibility. Among these two, might will be definitely something that is used to show very big possibility. Can and could, both of them are used to show potential or ability of the person, right? Would is used to show unreal, hypothetical, imaginary situations. Must is used for necessity and obligation, right? These are the basic meanings that you must keep in mind. Of course, may, could, shall, should, and would, and all of them will have their own use in the politeness context too, right? To make something sound more formal, more polite, you use all of them. That is also possible. Mostly may, could, and would. They have the most use in the politeness context, right? So this is the basic meanings that you should keep in mind with respect to modal verbs. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay. No,
Yes.
fine. Now I'll share my screen with you. Let's do a quick exercise. They're very simple ones, but this is all that you need to know. Okay, with respect to modal verbs for your this term. Nothing more than this. This is a rep of from George Yule's Oxford Practice Grammar. You can find this book online if you want. You can practice more with this. But let's do this one. This is a conversation involving some of the modal verbs that you see in the top most column there. Just once read the whole of the conversation and then see how you can fill it up. Take few minutes, take 1 or 2 minutes, read it, and then we'll discuss. Okay. Can we discuss?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's start. It's 9:30 a.m. and Devi, a helpful friend, has just arrived at Sarah's flat. Sarah. Hi, Devi. Thanks for coming so quickly, Devi. No problem. Sarah.
Would you like a
Dash.
cup of
Would.
Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Now, what is the usage of would here? How have you used it here? What's the usage? What meaning does it give? Politeness, right? This is politeness. Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Is the politeness usage of the model auxiliary verb would, right? Now, second, Dave says, "Oh no, thanks. I've already had some." Sarah, I dash phone you last night when it started, but then I realized it was after 11 o'clock and you dash probably be in bed already.
I
I was
Going to.
going to.
I was going to phone you last night.
I was going to phone you last night. So see, this is the expression is going to used in past tense was going to, right? This is what I was saying that along with these core auxiliaries, you will have a couple of other multi verb words which can be used to mean like the model verb. I was going to phone you last night when it started, but then I realized it was after 11 o'clock and you
Would.
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 The short form maybe. The first one.
the contracted form, right? You'd. That is U apostrophe D. So it's same D. It means would only, but it is in the contracted form, right? So one more feature of these model verbs is that they can be written in the contracted form, unlike your main verbs and other things, right? Most of the auxiliaries actually, even are and is and has and had and have and all of them can be written in contracted form. So can model verbs. These verbs also be written.
And ma'am, only modal verbs can be in contracted form. I think this is one of the questions in our activity or so. The answer
Really?
was
No.
false.
It
Is
is
there
false because there are other auxiliary verbs, no? Like I just mentioned, is, are, has, had, have, all of them can be written in contracted form. They are not
Okay,
model
they-
auxiliaries.
okay, they are not models. Okay,
No,
okay.
no, they are not model auxiliaries. They are
They are just
auxiliary verbs.
okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now, you'd probably be in bed already. Now, right. But what's the problem? Sarah, it's the toilet. The water dash stopped running, and I'm afraid we dash end up with a huge water bill.
Won't.
The water wouldn't stop running.
Won't.
Water.
Okay,
Won't.
not wouldn't, it is
Won't.
won't. The water won't
Okay.
stop running, and I am afraid
Would run.
We are going to end up.
going to.
We are going
We are going.
we are going to end up with a huge water bill. Okay,
Yeah.
the water won't stop running, and I am afraid we are going to end up with a huge water. Okay, correct. Now, well, let's take a look.
Shall we?
Shall we?
Shall we? Shall we? Okay, let's take a look. Shall we? Right? Oh, I hope it dash be a big
Wouldn't.
problem.
It won't be a big problem.
Wouldn't be a big problem.
Wouldn't or won't?
Wouldn't, I think.
Won't.
Won't.
But wouldn't is
Won't.
also not even.
So you can write it, but in this case, we are running by the options that they have given us, right? You will know why we won't use wouldn't. Look at the next sentence. Oh, I dash worry if I were you. Okay, you can't use won't there. No, you can only use wouldn't there. You get that point? This is the use
Yeah.
where would is
Got
used
it,
in
got it.
hypothetical situations, right? Subjunctive mood. Oh, I hope it won't be a big problem, right?
I wouldn't worry.
Oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you. Okay,
Why
just see
would we
this
write as I won't worry? Okay, it doesn't sound good, but is there any reason?
for which one? Which blank are you talking about?
Which eighth one? I won't worry if I were you. Can't we write
No.
that way?
No. Look at it. If I were you, this is you're
Okay.
talking about an imaginary situation, right? So one of the use of the model verb would is to be used to mean something that is unreal, hypothetical, imaginary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you. Okay. These old toilets sometimes just need a little help, but first I dash show you how to shut off the water supply in case this ever happens again.
I'll show you.
I'll, right?
I'll show you.
So what is this? Is it willingness or intention?
It is willingness.
Willingness or intention? I'll
Willingness.
show you. Huh. Willingness?
Intention.
Yes. because
Intention. Yeah.
Intention is mostly what about promise, okay, or certainty and all that. So willingness. I'll show.
Okay.
I'll show you how
Okay,
to
I'll
shut off
show you.
is more about willingness.
Acceptance. Okay.
I'll show you. Huh. I'll show you how to shut off the water supply in case ever happens. Right? All right. Huh.
In eighth part, like I wouldn't be. So the sentence shouldn't go like this. Oh, I wouldn't be worried if I were you. Like be worried.
Oh, I wouldn't be worried if I were you.
Why worry is you?
I would be worried if I, yeah, you can say that as well. That's also possible.
Okay.
Because in both cases, if you say worry or be worried, it does not make much of a difference. Okay.
But be worried is in past tense, right?
Be worried is in, no. That's a different form of construction. It's be plus worried. And the worried that you see there is not tense. It is V3 form. It's participle. Okay.
Okay.
It's not past tense. That's why I said it won't make much of a difference. Worry, be worried, it's going to be the same. Worry is also in the base form. Be worried again is in the base form because the ed you see along with worried there is not past tense. It is past participle and participles don't provide tense. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. These are very small details, but good you asked. Glad many people did not know that as well. Okay. Okay, all right. So that part is clear to you, right? We'll go to the next one then. These are standalone sentences. The contextual meaning is indicated along with each of the sentences, and you're required to choose from the options that you have. The first one, my grandmother is 85, but she dash still read and write without glasses.
Can.
Ability.
And
Can.
Can. Why will you not use could? Could is also potential, no? If I
It is
use could, it
in
won't be grammatically wrong.
Possibility.
No, I can still tell you that if you use could there, it won't be wrong grammatically. But this context does not demand it. We are not talking about a politeness
Yes,
indication, anything, right? It's just a general statement that is made. So my mother, grandmother is 85, but she can still read and write. Can is the first, that should be your first choice to be used as a modal verb whenever you want to talk about ability, unless the situation demands otherwise. Okay. Then the second one, dash I come with you.
Can I come with you?
Can I come with you? In this case, yes, because you can't say will or would along this, right? Third one, dash you help me with the housework, please.
Could you help me?
Could you help me with the housework, please? Because polite request, right? Fourth one, there was a time when I dash stay up very late.
Could.
when I could.
It has to mean ability. Now, don't ask me why not would, because here we need ability, so we're going to say could. Okay. There was a time when I could stay up very late. Why not can?
I think the context again.
Yeah. The context is going to decide, right? Why not would? There was a time when I would stay up very late. Is that a correct sentence if I say I would stay up very late?
Yeah, it was correct, but it doesn't show ability.
It is correct, but it doesn't.
It can and
Yeah,
could
maybe I
prove
would stay up
ability.
very late to finish my work or something that would fit into the context.
No. So the first answer that you gave is right. In this case, it cannot be because we have to show ability. And even if I show what it's going to mean very different. When I say when I would, there was a time when I would stay up very late, it almost, goes into a remoteness factor. Almost a condition that is not true anymore, right? Something that existed in the past, but it's not true anymore. That's the meaning, and here we don't want it. What we require of the sentence is to be used as an ability statement. So could. Okay. Fifth one. You dash not lose any more weight. You're already slim.
You need
Necessity.
not lose.
Need not.
You need.
Need not. Okay. Necessity. You need not lose any more weight. Sixth one. We dash make the first move. Prohibition. You're prohibiting somebody from doing something. Sixth one.
Must not.
We must not.
Must not.
We must not, right? Again, prohibition. So must not. We must not make the first move. Seventh one. It is snowing outside, so I dash stay at home. Intention.
Will. I will stay at
Will. So the moment it's intention, it has to be will. It is snowing outside, so I will stay at home. Eighth one. I dash get you a shawl from Kashmir.
I will.
Promise.
I will. I will.
Again, it is promise. So will. I will get you a shawl from Kashmir. Dash you mind if I borrowed your car? This is an important statement.
Would you mind?
Would you mind?
Would you? Would you mind? Now, if it is not in this context, then how else will you say? This one involves politeness as well. Would you mind if I borrowed your car? How will you say this otherwise?
Can I borrow your car?
No. The same. Don't change anything in the sentence. Keep all, you, mind, and all that. How would you rewrite the sentence without the politeness factor?
Do you mind?
Correct. Do you mind if I borrow your car?
Okay.
Do you mind if I borrow your car? Okay. That's
If
how
I
you
borrow
will.
your car, if we use do, then we will be using borrow. But here we are using would, so we should be using borrowed your car, right?
Exactly. That's the convention of using these kind of sentences. Okay. So without the politeness factors, it is do you mind if I borrow your car? And with the politeness factor, it becomes would you mind if I borrow your car? Okay. Don't connect all these past tense looking forms with the past tense. Okay.
Yes,
We are
yes.
more used to seeing ed and all of these things with past tense. So our mind has this thing of associating it directly with past tense, but in this, it's got nothing to do with past tense. If you look at that statement, it's got nothing to do with past tense or any tense for that matter, right? It's just a permission or a request statement. That's it. It is more with your politeness factor. So, do you mind if I borrow your car? It's the normal form that we use. Would you mind if I borrowed your car? Is the one with the politeness. Okay. Now, 10th one. Again, polite request. Dash you take care of my dog for a day?
Would you take it?
Would you take care of my dog for a day? Right? That's your sentence for politeness factor. Then comes 11th one. I dash swim when I was 6. I think I discussed this with you already.
I could swim.
So both can go. You could say I could swim if you want to indicate remoteness possibility. You can use can if you're talking about ability. So if it's an ability question, then I told you your first choice is always can, right? So in this case, though, because of the remoteness factor here, you're going to say I could swim when I was 6. Again, don't take could to be in past tense because the past tense comes here from the verb was, right? Not could. Okay. Right. Now, last one. This is she dash sell her home because she
Might.
might. So she might sell her home because she needs money. Because we want to have a meaning with weaker possibility, and that is given by might. Although may and could fits here, the meaning that we want to have comes from might. That's weak possibility.
Okay. Ma'am, why is it specifically mentioned as weak possibility? What if it is highly possible or good chances are there?
If it is just possibility, no, they don't say highly possible. It's possibility versus weak possibility.
Then probably she would use will. She will sell her home.
Possibility. If it's possibility, then you use may.
She may.
Okay, if it is just possibility, we will use may. Since this is weak possibility, we are using might. Is it?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's the understanding. That's the usage form that you need to keep in mind. If somebody says might, then we have to, the interpretation that we have from that statement is that this person talking about a very feeble chance, very feeble possibility. And if it is may, then the thing that you decipher is that talking about a 50-50% chance. 50-50 chance is what this person said. Okay. Yes,
Okay.
Umesh. Possible we use may, but no, it indicates possibility, not weak possibility. Okay. All right. So is this clear? Is this much of part about model works clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
these are the basic things. Just begin with this, and then you can branch out into looking for the other complicated ones and all that. As models, you also have a group of complex models, but at this moment, please be focused on the basic ones and their meanings, both in the politeness context as well as their basic meanings. Okay, for each of them. All right.
Okay.
So, that's all for today. I'm done for today's session. Next week we meet and talk about phrasal verbs and idioms and phrases. If you have any questions, you could ask now, or we'll call it a day. And I'll meet you next week. Okay.
Ma'am, can you just explain once again that, as in, with possibility, there is no degree, right?
There is a degree. That's what I'm saying. So there is
Okay.
possibility, and then there is a weaker possibility. Right.
Okay, so that means what I said, I mean, and which I think you said no, is wrong, right? About the part that she will sell her house.
It is wrong. No, you
Okay.
don't use will to indicate possibility. It's mostly
Okay.
may and might.
Okay, got it. Okay, fine.
Model auxiliary is same as model verbs. It's just different names for all of them. Some books would call it the model auxiliary. Some would simply call it model verbs. Okay. But all of them are auxiliary verbs. You have other auxiliary verbs like the be form auxiliaries, and then the has, had, have. And these are special category. They are model. The word model comes from the word modality, which means it shows you various modalities of speech and expression. The speaker's attitude. That's where the word model verb comes from. Okay? Yeah, right. Are all of them are auxiliaries, but not models. Right? They have more tense related functions, time showing functions than model verbs. Model verbs don't have that function. Their function is to show mood, modalities. That's all. They are B forms. Yes, is and are B forms. There are more. There's was, were. All of them are B forms. You also have the do, does, did. Right? They're all auxiliary verbs. Okay. Fine. No more questions. Okay. I'll see you all then next week if you do not have anything more to ask. Thank you for joining in.
Thank
and
you.
see you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.